They don't come back when you're crying. They come back when you finally remember who you are. That's where this story really starts. You see, my friends, people don't just wake up one day and suddenly realize your worth. It usually happens the moment you stop begging them to see it. The moment you stop shrinking yourself to fit into their comfort zone. The moment you stop chasing, over-explaining, and proving. That's when life flips the script. Hey folks, imagine this. You're like a rare book sitting on a shelf. Deep, powerful, full of wisdom and stories. But someone walks in, flips through 2 pages, shrugs, and says, "Hey, I'll find something better." They put you back, walk out with a cheap magazine, and feel proud of their choice. For a while, they're happy with the loud colors and quick distraction. But one day, when the noise fades and life hits harder, they remember that book, the one with real depth, the one they didn't have the patience to understand. That book is you. Or think of it like this. You were a peaceful garden, my friends. You offered shade, calm, fresh air. They came in with muddy shoes, walked all over your flowers, and then complained they weren't impressed. So they left, chasing neon lights and crowded places. At first they feel excited, but over time the noise gets old. The fake laughs get tiring, the smiles hurt their own faces, and then they remember there was a place where their soul actually rested. A garden they didn't know how to care for. That garden was you. We've been fed a lot of lies about this, right? We're told if they left, it's because you weren't enough. We're told if they don't come back, you didn't try hard enough. We're told to keep someone, you must always be available, always forgiving, always understanding. But here's the truth, and it might sting a little before it sets you free. People don't leave because you're not valuable. They leave because they don't recognize value yet. Stoicism teaches us something powerful. Your worth does not rise and fall based on who chooses you. Your job is not to convince anyone of your value. Your job is to embody it, to stand in it, to protect it. The funny thing is, the moment you stop chasing them is usually the moment they start chasing you. It's almost unfair. When you were calling, texting, explaining, they felt strong. They thought, I've got time, they're not going anywhere. But when your phone goes quiet, when your energy pulls back, when your life no longer revolves around them, that's when their brain starts doing backflips. Wait, where did they go? Why aren't they reacting? Have they moved on? My friends, that is the moment they start to realize you weren't just another person in their life. You were calm in their storm. You were the only one who actually listened. You were the one who saw through their jokes, their walls, their fake, I'm fine. So this video, this journey we are about to take together, is not about teaching you how to beg for someone to return. It's about helping you understand why they will feel that pull to come back the moment they finally see who you really are, and why, by that time, you may not even want what you used to beg for. Stay with me, because we're going to break the lies, flip the script, and rebuild your sense of self from the inside out. You're going to walk away from this not just hoping they see your value, but living like you already know it. And before we move into the next part, I want you to do something simple but powerful. Drop this in the comments right now. I know my worth. Just 4 words. Type it, claim it, own it. And if this already hits something inside you, press like, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this is where your story starts to change. Number 1. When they thought you were replaceable. They didn't walk away because you weren't enough. They walked away because they had no idea what enough really looks like. My friends, that truth hits hard, doesn't it? Because when someone treats you like you're replaceable, it doesn't just hurt your feelings, it starts messing with your identity. You don't just lose a person, you start to feel like you've lost a piece of yourself. You lie awake at night thinking, If I was really that special, why was it so easy for them to leave? Or, if I mattered, why didn't they fight for me? That's the poison their behavior leaves behind. Not just pain, but doubt. Folks, let's use a simple picture. Imagine you're a diamond ring sitting at the bottom of a messy drawer. Someone opens it, looks in quickly, sees plastic bracelets, old keys, coins, and you're just one more thing buried under the clutter. They slam the drawer, walk away, and tell themselves there's nothing valuable in there. But did you stop being a diamond because they didn't recognize you? No. Their lack of attention didn't change your worth. It only exposed their lack of vision. That's what happened with you. You were never just another option. You were the most valuable thing in the room. They just didn't know how to look. People like that build a story in their head. If this person is always available, if they always answer, if they always forgive, they must need me more than I need them. Their ego starts feeding on the idea that they're the prize and you're the one lucky to be there. So they pull away a little, they delay the texts, they test your patience, they become lazy with effort. And you, because you genuinely care, try harder. You send longer messages, you give more chances, you explain more deeply, you say things like, "I just want us to be okay," while they quietly enjoy the power of knowing you're scared to lose them. Inside your mind, the questions start. What if I don't find anyone else? What if this is the best I'll ever get? What if I'm overreacting and they actually care but are just stressed? Fear starts driving your choices. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of not being chosen by anyone else. And when fear is in charge, my friends, self-respect gets pushed to the back seat. You start accepting less than you deserve because the biggest lie you've swallowed is this: if they left, it's because I didn't measure up. But let me break that lie right now. People don't treat you as replaceable because you're ordinary. They treat you that way because to them, comfort is more important than character. They want what's easy, not what's deep. They want attention without accountability. They want the benefits of your presence without the responsibility of showing up for you. That's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of their emotional immaturity. As the quote goes, your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. They weren't seeing clearly, and you punished yourself for their blindness. Think of it like a house. You were the foundation, solid, stabilizing, unseen most days, but absolutely necessary. They were focused on the wallpaper, the decorations, the temporary things. When something shinier came along, they walked out, believing they'd just left a room. They didn't realize they stepped away from the actual structure holding everything together. It feels like rejection from your side, but in reality, it's demolition on theirs. The day life shakes them and they realize they're standing in a house with no foundation is the day your memory hits them hardest. Why is it so difficult to see this when you're in the middle of it? Simple. Because you're emotionally invested. Your heart is ahead of your logic. You're busy remembering the good moments, the soft smiles, the inside jokes. You tell yourself, maybe I'm asking for too much. You lower your standards, thinking that will make them stay. But Stoicism teaches something different. You don't lower your value just to remain in someone's story. You honor your value and let the story reveal who actually deserves a place in your life. You might be thinking, but if I'm so valuable, why didn't they fight for me? My friend, not everyone fights for what's valuable. Some people walk away from gold because they feel safer holding plastic. Gold requires responsibility. Gold requires care. Gold requires maturity. Plastic is easy, cheap, and replaceable. Their choice doesn't downgrade you to plastic. It exposes what they are comfortable with. As harsh as it sounds, some people would rather choose simple illusions over solid truth. And here's another heavy truth. They thought you were replaceable because you kept showing up even when they didn't. You kept forgiving with no change. You kept explaining yourself to someone who wasn't listening. You kept proving your love while they were barely proving their presence. In their mind, this created a dangerous illusion. No matter what I do, they'll stay. They took your loyalty and translated it into dependency. That's the miscalculation that later breaks them. But this is where your story starts to rise. Because there comes a day, quiet, ordinary, not dramatic, where something in you shifts. You wake up tired. Not tired of them. Tired of who you've become around them. Tired of doubting yourself. Tired of begging for emotional crumbs. Tired of feeling like you're auditioning for a role in someone else's life, while forgetting you're the main character in your own. That's the day the ground starts to move. That's the moment you begin to outgrow what they reduced you to. And yes, it's scary. It's scary to even think, what if I walk away? It's scary to imagine a life where you're not checking their messages, not decoding their moods, not waiting for their validation. Your fear will tell you, you'll regret leaving, you'll miss them so much, you'll be alone forever. But fear lies. Read that again. Fear lies. It's not trying to tell you the truth. It's trying to keep you in the same place, in the same pattern, with the same pain, because at least it's familiar. Growth doesn't feel safe at first. It feels like stepping into a room with the lights off. But that room, my friend, is your future. The powerful thing is this: the moment you start believing, I am not replaceable, your energy changes. The way you speak changes. The way you let people treat you changes. You stop begging for the bare minimum and start expecting what you actually deserve. Consistency, respect, honesty, effort. And when that shift happens, it doesn't just transform you, it slowly begins the process of shocking them, because the always available version of you no longer exists. So let's plant a flag right here at this first stage of our journey. They may have thought you were replaceable, they may have acted like your presence was nothing special, but that story changes the moment you stop agreeing with it. The moment you decide to see yourself clearly, the whole world eventually has to adjust its lens. If you're still here listening, it's because something in you knows this is your truth. You're not here by accident. You're here because you're ready to stop living like a backup plan in your own life. I want you to go to the comments right now and write, I am not replaceable. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that you're done shrinking who you are for people who can't see straight. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about what really happens when your silence and distance start rewriting the story inside their mind. Number 2, the silence, where your real value begins to show. Your absence will teach them what your presence could not. My friends, that one hurts and heals at the same time. Because when you're in the middle of the storm, silence doesn't feel powerful. It feels like a punishment. It feels like losing. It feels like you're standing there with your heart in your hands while life slowly walks away from you. You think, if I stay quiet, I'll lose them. If I don't explain, they'll misunderstand me. If I don't chase, they'll replace me. That's the trap. That's the lie. And that's exactly why silence becomes the very place where your real value finally starts to show. Imagine this, folks. You're a warm fireplace in a cold house. Every time they come home, you're already burning, already ready, already offering light and comfort. They don't have to ask. They don't have to wait. You are just there, steady. Over time, they stop appreciating it. They walk in, throw their coat somewhere, scroll on their phone, complain about their day. The fire is normal. One day, you decide to stop burning for someone who never even thanked you for your warmth. The house grows cold. It's only then, when they start to shiver, that they realize the fire wasn't background, it was the blessing. Silence is that cold room. It's where they finally feel the difference between a life with you and a life without you. At first, though, silence feels wrong to you. You've been trained to believe that love equals constant talking, constant fixing, constant chasing. You ask yourself, if I don't reach out, am I being cold? If I don't explain, am I being selfish? If I don't tell them how I feel, am I blocking my own happiness? You've been conditioned to think your job is to maintain the connection at any cost, even if that cost is your peace. But let me tell you something straight. Peace is not a luxury, it's oxygen. And you can't keep breathing for two people while they're holding their breath whenever responsibility shows up. Silence is not you giving up. Silence is you stepping out of the ring. You're tired of fighting with someone who thinks your heart is a game. You're tired of explaining basic respect to a person who wants all the benefits of you without any accountability. You're tired of begging someone to care when caring should never require begging. So you go quiet. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but to protect what's left of you. That's where Stoicism comes in. Stoicism doesn't say, don't feel anything. It says, feel everything, but don't let your feelings run your life. Silence is how you stop your emotions from dragging you back into rooms where you keep getting hurt. The wild thing is, when you finally go silent, they don't panic at first. They shrug. They tell themselves they're just acting different. They'll be back. They underestimate you the same way they always have. But then a small shift happens. Hours turn into days. Days turn into weeks. Your name isn't popping up like it used to. Their phone feels oddly quiet. That little hit of validation they used to get from your attention, it's gone. And whether they admit it or not, the ego starts to itch. Why aren't they texting? Who are they talking to now? Why do I suddenly care? My friends, silence is like holding a mirror in front of someone. They're not just seeing you anymore, they're seeing themselves. They start to notice how lazy their effort was, how one-sided those conversations really were, how comfortable they became with you always being the one to fix things. The story they told themselves, I can always get them back, starts to crack. They begin to understand that maybe you weren't desperate. Maybe you were just committed. And commitment is rare. But while their ego is slowly waking up, something much more important is waking up inside you. In the quiet, you start hearing your own voice again. Not the scared voice asking, what if they don't come back? But the wiser one whispering, what if I don't need them to? You start noticing how much energy you used to waste refreshing chats, writing drafts, explaining your feelings to someone who never really held them with care. In silence, you reclaim that energy. You redirect it. You sleep a little deeper. Your laughter slowly stops sounding forced. The air around you feels just a bit lighter. Of course, it's difficult. There are nights where you want to break and send that long message. There are days where nostalgia hits and you think, maybe I was too harsh. Maybe I should just check in. This is where most people lose the battle and go back, not because the person changed, but because the discomfort felt too heavy. This is the hardest part of silence, the in-between. You're not who you were with them, but you're still becoming who you're meant to be without them. That space is scary, but it is sacred. Here's the truth. The silence you're sitting in right now is not empty. It's building something. It's building your standards. It's building your self-respect. It's building your emotional discipline. It's teaching you that you don't have to react to every trigger. You don't have to chase every person. You don't have to fix every broken thing. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. As one quote says, not everything deserves your reaction. Some things only deserve your silence. And the more you hold that silence, the more your value rises, not because you suddenly became more worthy, but because you stopped auctioning yourself off to the lowest bidder. You start to glow differently. Your energy shifts. You're not desperate, you're discerning. You're not waiting, you're watching. You're not begging for love. You're creating space for the right version of it to show up. So if you're in that quiet season right now, where your phone isn't buzzing the way it used to, where your heart is healing but still tender, I want you to remember this. Silence is not your defeat. It's your training ground. It's where you're becoming the person who no longer tolerates being treated like a backup plan. It's where your real value starts to shine in ways even you hadn't seen before. If that speaks to you, I want you to go to the comments and write this affirmation: my silence protects my value. Show yourself, show them, show the world around you that this quiet isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And stay with me, my friends, because next, we're going to step even deeper into what happens inside their mind when they finally realize the fire they walked away from isn't waiting at the door anymore. Number 3, how their illusions start to crack when you stop chasing. Nothing confuses the ego more than the moment you stop running after what once ran from you. My friends, this is where the story starts getting interesting, because as long as you're chasing, as long as you're explaining, as long as you're proving your love, their ego is comfortable. They feel safe in the idea that you'll always be there, no matter how little they give. Their illusion is simple. I can treat them however I want. They're not going anywhere. But illusions don't survive reality forever. And reality hits the moment you stop chasing. Picture this, folks. Imagine a kid at the beach building a sand castle at the very edge of the water. At first, the waves come up gently, touching it, but never fully knocking it down. The kid laughs, convinced the ocean will never really wash it away. Then suddenly, a bigger wave comes, slow, silent, steady, and in one sweep, the castle disappears. The kid stands there in shock, like, wait, what? Where did it go? That's their ego when you finally step back. They thought they had you right there on the shore forever. They thought your effort was permanent. They never imagined the day you'd stop trying to hold everything together. In their mind, you were predictable. If they pulled away, you leaned in. If they went cold, you tried to warm things up. If they went silent, you sent the "Are you okay?" message. You were playing a role in their life, sometimes the caretaker, sometimes the emotional safety net, sometimes the backup plan, but always there. So when you suddenly stop, when the good morning text doesn't come, when you don't react to their half-hearted stories, when you don't chase after their distance, something inside them glitches. At first, they'll pretend it's nothing. They tell themselves they're just busy. They're playing a game. They'll break and come back. That's their ego trying to stay in control of the narrative. They might even laugh it off to their friends, acting unbothered, saying things like, they're just being dramatic. But then the days pass. The energy doesn't return. The supply of attention they were so used to stays gone. Now the questions start, but this time, in their mind, not yours. Why aren't they texting? Who are they talking to now? Did I push too far? That's the beginning of the crack. Not a big explosion, just hairline fractures in the story they've been telling themselves about you. Because for the first time, your behavior doesn't match their expectations. And nothing shakes a person like realizing they miscalculated how much control they actually had. Meanwhile, remember what used to happen on your side. Before, when they pulled away, your mind went wild. What did I do? Are they losing interest? Should I try harder? That fear used to own you. You'd double text, overthink, check their social media, read old messages like they were some kind of manual for how to win them back. You believed a lie. If I stop chasing, I'll lose them. But here's the reality that Stoicism teaches us. If you can lose someone just by respecting yourself, you never really had them in the first place. The moment you stop chasing doesn't just change how they see you, it changes how you see you. You start realizing, wait, I don't have to run after anyone to prove I'm worthy of love. I don't have to beg to be chosen. I don't have to monitor their moods to earn basic respect. That's a powerful shift, and your energy begins to reflect it. You're calmer, your messages are shorter, or sometimes they don't exist at all. You stop trying to rescue every fragile moment. You let things fall if they're meant to fall. And trust me, they feel that. Energy doesn't need a Wi-Fi connection. They can sense when your emotions aren't orbiting them anymore. They may not admit it, but they notice the missing pull, the missing urgency, the missing "I need you," and the illusion that they were the one with all the options and all the power starts to crumble. They begin to realize that maybe, just maybe, they were the one being chosen the whole time, and they treated that like it was guaranteed instead of earned. Of course, their ego won't give up quietly. They might test you. A random "hey" out of nowhere, a reaction to your story, a little breadcrumb, just enough to see if you'll jump. They want to know, do I still have them? If you fall back into chasing, their illusion gets patched up. They breathe in relief and think, okay, nothing's changed. They're still mine emotionally. But if you stay grounded, if you respond calmly, or not at all, the crack widens. The story they lived in for so long no longer works. Why do they think like this? Because for a long time, they confused your vulnerability with weakness. They saw your care as dependence. They assumed that because you loved deeply, you'd always be available. The illusion was, they need me more than I need them. But when you stop chasing, when your life keeps moving, when your peace starts shining through the quiet, that illusion starts looking ridiculous even to them. They start remembering your kindness, your patience, your loyalty, and now, without your presence, those qualities hit differently. This part of the journey is hard, my friends. It's not easy to sit still when every part of you wants to prove you're still there. It's not easy to stay quiet when you want to shout, I still care, I'm just tired. But this is where you rise. This is where you let their illusions fall apart on their own instead of trying to save them from their own decisions. This is where you let silence do the teaching words never could. If you're at that point right now, where you've stopped chasing, where you're watching their behavior shift, where you're scared but also strangely proud of yourself, I want you to mark this moment. This is where your story takes a different direction. This is where their illusion cracks and your reality strengthens. Go to the comments and write this affirmation, I don't chase anymore. Show them, show yourself. Show the world that you're done running after people who walk away from what you bring. And stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to talk about what happens on a deeper level when your entire energy stops orbiting them and finally starts revolving around the only person who truly needed it all along, you. Number 4. The shift. When your energy stops orbiting them. The day you stop revolving around them is the day your whole universe finally remembers who its real center is. My friends, this is where everything changes. Up until now, most of your emotional life has been like a planet circling one sun, them. Their moods decide your mood. Their replies decide your peace. Their distance decides your anxiety. You wake up checking your phone. You go to sleep rereading old conversations. Your energy has been orbiting them so long that you almost forgot you had a life before they arrived. But then something quiet, almost unnoticeable at first, begins to shift. Think of it like this, folks. Imagine you've been holding a heavy backpack over one shoulder for so long that you've gotten used to the pain. You walk with a tilt. Your back aches. Your muscles are tight. But it's familiar, so you keep carrying it. One day, without a big dramatic moment, you finally take the strap off and set it down. At first, you feel strange, off balance, like something's missing. You even reach for it out of habit, but slowly your body starts to straighten. You feel lighter. You realize just how much weight you were dragging around. That backpack was them, their chaos, their inconsistency, their emotional laziness, and that moment you put it down is the moment your energy stops orbiting them. The shift doesn't start with fireworks. It starts with small choices. You wake up and instead of checking if they texted, you check in with yourself. How do I feel today? What do I need? You go through your day and instead of crafting the perfect reply in your head, you focus on your work, your goals, your body, your peace. You still think about them, sure, but they're not the center of every thought anymore. Their name starts showing up less in your mind. Your own name starts showing up more. At first, this new balance almost scares you. You might catch yourself laughing and realize, wow, I just felt good without thinking about whether they're in my life or not. And immediately, the old fear tries to creep back in. Does this mean I never loved them? Does this mean I'm cold? No, my friends. It means you're healing. It means your heart is learning how to beat without needing their attention as a life support machine. This is the part the old version of you never believed was possible. You used to think, if I stop trying, I'll fall apart. If I stop checking on them, I'll feel empty. If I stop giving, there will be nothing left. But Stoicism teaches us something deeper. Your strength doesn't come from chasing what hurts you. It comes from choosing what grows you. When your energy stops orbiting them, it doesn't vanish. It returns home, back to you. You start to see patterns you couldn't see before. You remember all the times you cancelled your plans to be available for them, when they couldn't even send a simple "got home safe" text. You remember how many nights you stayed awake worrying about where you stood while they slept peacefully, knowing you'd still be there in the morning. You see clearly how much your life shrank to fit inside their comfort zone, and that realization might sting, but it also frees you. Because once you see how much of yourself you gave away, you can decide to never do it like that again. Their side of the story starts shifting too. They notice that the energy feels different. The version of you that used to react immediately now takes their time or doesn't respond at all. The person who once sent paragraphs now sends one-line replies or chooses silence. They feel the absence of your emotional investment. They may not have the words for it, but they feel it. The air between you has changed. They no longer feel like the sun in your sky, and that unsettles them more than any argument ever did. Sometimes this is where they start trying to pull you back into orbit. A memory dropped into your messages, a flirty comment, a just checking in text that pretends to care but is really only asking one question: do I still have you? Your old self would have jumped at this, grabbed the emotional rope and started pulling you back into their world. But this new you pauses. You can feel the tug, sure, but you don't move as easily. You're anchored somewhere else now, anchored in self-respect, anchored in awareness, anchored in the understanding that your life cannot keep spinning around someone who barely showed up for you. And that's where it gets powerful. The more you stay rooted in your own life, the less their behavior has the power to shake you. They're late to reply, you don't spiral. They watch your story but don't message. You don't build a whole fantasy or a tragedy around it. They flirt with the idea of coming back but never fully commit. You don't shrink yourself to make it easier for them. You see it for what it is, not fate, not destiny, just patterns. And once you see patterns, you can choose not to repeat them. It isn't easy. There are moments when the old pull shows up. You'll have days where you miss them so strongly it feels like gravity. You'll be tempted to drag your energy back into their orbit just for the comfort of familiarity. But this is where you remind yourself, familiarity is not the same as safety, comfort is not the same as peace, and attachment is not the same as love. The shift becomes real when you start building a life that has nothing to do with whether they come back or not. You pick up hobbies you abandoned. You reconnect with friends you neglected. You start exercising, journaling, learning, creating. You expand, and as you expand, something becomes clear. Your world was never meant to be that small. Your heart was never meant to be that dependent on one person's approval. This is where your story begins to feel different inside your own body. Your chest feels lighter. Your mind feels clearer. You stop rehearsing conversations that may never happen. You accept that closure doesn't come from their words, it comes from your decision. The decision to move forward even with unanswered questions. The decision to love yourself enough to stop making them the center of your universe. If you feel this shift happening in you, even just a little, I want you to honor it right now. Go to the comments and write, "My energy is mine." Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that you're done orbiting people who can't even stand steady in their own life. And stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to step into the moment they finally realize who you truly are, and why that realization hits hardest right when you've learned to live without them. Number 5. The exact moment they realize who you really are. They don't really see you when you're begging to be seen. They see you when you disappear and their world doesn't feel the same anymore. My friends, this is the part nobody prepares you for. Not the breakup, not the arguing, not even the nights you cried yourself to sleep. What catches them, and sometimes even you, off guard is the moment the truth finally lands on their side. The moment they realize you were never just someone. You were the difference. You were the turning point. You were the piece they only recognize once it's gone. It never happens in a big movie scene. There's no dramatic rainstorm, no running through airports, no loud confession with background music. Real life hits much quieter than that. It happens on ordinary days, in small cracks, in simple moments that somehow feel heavier than they should. Picture this, folks. It's a random evening. They're sitting on the edge of their bed, scrolling through their phone. They pass an old photo of you or an old chat that didn't get deleted. They pause. That memory hits different now. Maybe it's the way you smiled, the way you checked in, the way you always knew the right words when they were losing control. They try to swipe past it, but something in their chest tightens. That's the first tug, the first whisper of, "I didn't appreciate this." Or maybe they're out with friends, laughing, drinking, doing what they always do. On the surface, everything looks fine. But someone makes a joke, and the laugh that comes out of their mouth feels hollow. It doesn't reach their eyes. In the middle of the noise, they feel weirdly disconnected. They realize they've been surrounded by people for hours, and yet no one has actually seen them. Not the way you did. You saw their eyes when they said, "I'm fine," and you knew they weren't. You saw their silence and knew when it was hiding pain. That awareness of you hits like a wave they didn't see coming. Their mind starts replaying things they brushed off. The time you stayed up late with them before an important day. The time you forgave what you could have walked away from. The time you supported their dreams, even when they didn't fully believe in themselves. All the little things they labeled as normal suddenly don't feel so normal anymore because nobody is doing them now. Life goes on, sure, but something's missing. You're missing. And here's the part that stings them the most. Nothing dramatic happened on your side. You didn't make a big speech. You didn't beg them to choose you one last time. You didn't slam the door. You simply stopped forcing your presence where it wasn't respected. You stopped chasing. You stopped explaining. You stopped fighting for someone who kept putting you in the maybe category. Your silence becomes the loudest message you ever sent. They might try to argue with themselves at first. We just grew apart. It was mutual. I needed space. They cling to these explanations because it's easier than admitting, I mishandled something rare. But the truth doesn't stay buried. It starts showing up in the way they can't fully enjoy new connections because everything feels shallow compared to the depth you brought. It shows up when someone new laughs, And instead of feeling joy, they feel a reminder, a comparison, a loss. Why does this moment cut so deeply on their end? Because up until now, their ego told them a comforting story. If I ever want them, they'll be there. Your old self helped build that illusion by always showing up, even after being hurt. But when your energy changed, when your life started moving without them, that story became impossible to believe. They're forced to face a heavy truth. You weren't orbiting them anymore, and they have no idea how to pull you back. This is where the old lie breaks completely. The lie that you were the one who needed them more. They finally see what Stoicism has been teaching you. Your value was never in how loudly you loved them. It was in the way you stood by them, the way you offered peace, the way you grounded their chaos. You were the safe place they didn't know how to honor. And nothing wakes a person up like realizing they walked out of safety to chase noise. But let me tell you something important, my friends. This moment of realization is not your job to create. You don't have to post things to make them jealous. You don't have to play games. You don't have to send "I'm doing great without you" messages. Life itself does the teaching. Their own mind does the replaying. Their regret grows, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped feeding their ego and started feeding your own healing. Why is it hard for you, even when you hear this? Because a part of you still wants that validation. A part of you still thinks, I just want them to finally see who I was. And yes, that's human. But here's the twist. The most powerful version of you doesn't wait around for their realization. The most powerful version of you understands that by the time they truly realize who you are, you'll have already stepped into a higher version of yourself. One that doesn't need their recognition to feel complete. The exact moment they realize who you are is really the moment you stop fighting their blindness. You accept that some people need to lose you to see you. You accept that their understanding of your worth will arrive late, messy, and quiet, and you choose not to pause your life waiting for it to show up. That's real power. That's stoic strength. Not coldness, not bitterness, but clarity. So if you can feel yourself getting closer to this point, or maybe you're already there, where you know deep down that one day they'll look back and finally get it, I want you to anchor this truth inside you right now. Go to the comments and write, "They'll see, I already do." Show them, show yourself, show the world that you're done begging to be recognized. You see your own value now. And stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to talk about what their return usually looks like, why it's often not as pure as it seems, and how to protect your heart when the person who misread you finally finds their way back to your door. Number 6. How they come back. Tests, breadcrumbs, and ego games. They don't come back when they're ready to love you. They come back when they're not ready to let go of the power they once had over you. My friends, that's the hard part to swallow. Because in your mind, you imagine their return as this big, honest moment. You picture them standing there saying, "I finally understand your worth. I'm sorry. I'm ready to do better." That's the fantasy. Real life is usually quieter, messier, and a lot more selfish than that. Most of the time, they don't come back because they've suddenly grown up overnight. They come back because something inside them got uncomfortable. The silence got heavy. The attention dried up. The ego started itching. Picture this, folks. Imagine someone who used to drink water from a clean, steady spring. Every day, they could walk there, fill their cup, and never say thank you. Then one day, that spring is fenced off. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-respect. They walk up with their cup, and suddenly there's a gate, no more automatic access. Do they collapse on their knees and say, "Wow, I never appreciated this, I'm so sorry"? No. First, they rattle the gate. They push, they test, they look for a gap in the fence. That's exactly what their return often looks like. Not devotion, just gate rattling. It usually starts small, a "hey, been a while," a random emoji reaction to your story, a song link, a memory. Remember when we... On the surface, it seems harmless, even sweet. Inside your mind, the questions explode. Do they miss me? Did they change? Is this my second chance? Your heart jumps because a part of you still remembers the version of them you fell for, not the version you had to heal from. That's where the danger is. Their breadcrumb triggers your hope. But my friends, Stoic thinking asks a different question. What is the intention behind this? Not just the emotion it wakes up inside me. You've got to understand something hard, but freeing. Many people reach out not because they're ready to give more, but because they're checking if they can still take. They want to know if their key still works in your lock. If one little message can still pull you back into late-night conversations, into emotional availability, into making them feel important again. In their mind, your response becomes proof. If you react fast, they think, okay, still got them. If you pour your heart out, they think, nothing's really changed. That's not love. That's an ego searching for confirmation that it's still powerful. This is why their return is so confusing. Their words might sound soft. They might say things like, I was just thinking about you, or I miss talking to you. And maybe part of that is true. But truth without responsibility is just romance for the ego. If their message doesn't come with real accountability, real effort, real consistency, it's not a comeback story. It's recycling. And recycling feelings is how people get stuck in the same painful pattern over and over again. Why do they think like this? Because for a long time, they were used to you moving first. You were the one bridging the gap, solving the misunderstandings, filling the silence. They were spoiled by your emotional labor. On some level, they learned, I don't have to do the hard work. They'll do it for both of us. So when they reach out now, they're not expecting a strong, centered version of you. They're expecting the old you, the one who would jump at crumbs and call it a meal. That's the illusion they're living in. They still think they're texting the past. This is where it gets difficult for you, because even after everything, you still have a heart. You still remember the good moments. You still remember how it felt when things were sweet. So when that message appears on your screen, you feel the old pull. It's like an old song that used to be your favorite. Even if it reminds you of pain, part of you still knows every word. You might feel tempted to fall straight back into that familiarity, just because it feels warmer than the unknown. Your fear whispers, what if this is your last chance? What if you're being too cold? What if they really changed this time? But let's break the lie right here. A changed person doesn't just send different words. They live different patterns. A truly changed person doesn't wait for boredom, loneliness, or jealousy to hit before they remember you. They take responsibility. They acknowledge their part. They show up consistently. They don't just test the gate. They ask if they even still deserve to step inside. So when they come back with breadcrumbs, you don't have to be cruel, but you must be clear. You don't owe the past version of them unlimited access to the present version of you. You've grown. You've worked hard to rebuild your peace, your clarity, your self-respect. That wasn't easy. Those nights where you wanted to text, those mornings where you woke up with a heavy chest. That healing cost you something. Don't trade it away just because someone is suddenly curious again. Here's where Stoicism becomes your shield. Stoicism doesn't say, don't reply, ignore everyone. It says, don't let your emotions decide what you tolerate. You can respond calmly if you choose. You can be polite, but you don't have to overshare. You don't have to rush. You don't have to play therapist, savior, or unpaid emotional support anymore. You observe. You watch what they do after the first message. Do they follow through? Do they ask real questions? Do they address the past, or are they acting like nothing happened? That tells you everything. The most powerful version of you isn't the one who finally gets them back. It's the one who looks at their return and thinks, I see the pattern now, and I choose me. Sometimes the real glow-up isn't them realizing who you are. It's you realizing that you don't need to go back to a chapter you've already learned the lesson from. If you've ever had someone pop back into your life with breadcrumbs, and you felt that old storm rise inside you, I want you to claim something different today. Go to the comments and write, "I won't follow breadcrumbs." Show them, show yourself, show the world that you're done being led in circles by half-effort and ego games. And stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to talk about your Stoic response when they return. How to stand in calm, in clarity, and in self-respect so deeply that whether they stay or go, you stay solid. Number 7. Your Stoic response when they return. They don't test your strength when they leave. They test it when they come back, and you no longer hand them the same version of you they walked away from. My friends, this is where everything you've learned gets tested. Not in the silent nights, not in the lonely mornings, but in that one moment when their name lights up your phone again. Your heart skips, your stomach tightens, your mind races. A part of you says, "Finally." Another part whispers, "Careful. This isn't just a message, this is an exam, not of them, of you, of how deeply you've grown, of whether your healing is real or just an act you put on when no one is tempting your old wounds." For so long, your default setting was reaction. They texted, you responded. They pulled away, you chased. They left, you explained yourself to thin air. Now, after everything you've been through, Stoicism asks you to do something different. Respond, not react. To pause before you pour. To think before you rush. To ask yourself, is this aligned with the peace I fought for, or does this drag me back into the storm? Picture this, folks. Imagine you've just cleaned your entire house after months of clutter. You scrubbed the floors, aired out the rooms, threw out the trash, rearranged everything. It finally smells like peace in there. Then someone who used to stomp in with muddy shoes and never wipe their feet knocks at your door. They're smiling. They've got that same familiar look. And for a moment, you remember the laughs, the late talks, the good memories. But then you glance down at their shoes. Nothing has changed. No awareness. No respect for the floor you just cleaned. Stoic response means this: you don't have to slam the door in their face, but you also don't pretend the mud isn't there. When they return, you'll feel the pull. Let's be honest, you're human. You'll feel curiosity. You'll feel that old comfort try to sit back down in your chest. Your mind will start building stories. Maybe they're different now. Maybe this is the moment I always prayed for. Maybe this time it will finally work. That's your hope talking, and hope is beautiful. But without boundaries, hope is also dangerous. Stoicism doesn't tell you to kill hope. It tells you to put hope and standards in the same room. So what does a Stoic response actually look like? It's not icy, fake, I don't care about anything ever energy. It's calm, it's grounded, it's slow. You don't rush to open emotional doors that nearly destroyed you the first time. You don't spill your heart out just because they finally knocked. You don't reward minimal effort with maximum access. You observe. You listen, not just to what they say, but to what they don't. Do they acknowledge the distance? Do they take responsibility for how things ended? Or do they act like nothing happened? Are they asking how you are because they genuinely care, or because they're bored and lonely? Are they consistent over days and weeks, or do they show up strong for 2 days and then vanish like before? Stoic response means you let patterns speak louder than apologies. You let time reveal whether this is transformation or just another cycle. You might ask yourself, but if I don't meet their energy fully, am I sabotaging something that could be good? That's the lie fear wants you to believe, that your only choices are total openness or total loss. In reality, You're allowed to walk slowly. You're allowed to protect your heart while you evaluate someone's behavior. You're allowed to say, I'm not who I used to be, so access to me doesn't work the way it used to. That's not sabotage. That's self-respect. Your old self got excited when they came back. This new self gets reflective. Instead of asking, how do I keep them? You ask, do they actually fit into the life I'm building now? Instead of thinking, what if I lose them again? You think, what will I lose in myself if I let them back in too easily? That's the shift. That's the Stoic upgrade. You're no longer willing to gamble your mental health just to have someone beside you. And listen, my friends, this is important. You don't owe them the same version of you they left behind. They left a version of you that was still willing to explain, still willing to chase, still willing to tolerate confusion. But the you standing here now has walked through silence, loneliness, self-doubt, healing. You've rebuilt parts of yourself they don't even know exist. They're not coming back to the same person. And you are not required to shrink back down so they feel comfortable. Does that mean you have to reject them? No. Stoicism doesn't give you one script for every situation. Some people genuinely grow. Some people genuinely return with humility and consistency. But your job isn't to assume that. Your job is to let their actions prove it over time while you stay anchored in your peace. If they're real, they'll respect your pace. If they're not, they'll call your boundaries cold, dramatic, or too much. And that reaction will tell you everything. You might be afraid, what if I lose them by being this calm, this firm, this selective? Here's the truth. If they walk away because you refuse to abandon yourself again, you didn't lose them. You saved yourself. And saving yourself is never a loss. It's the highest form of loyalty you can practice. So right here, in this moment, if you've been through hell and you know deep down you would handle their return differently now, I want you to honor that growth. Go to the comments and write, my peace comes first. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that whether they stay, go, return, or vanish, you're done sacrificing your sanity just to keep a connection alive. And stay with me, my friends, because in the next part, we're going to close this journey by flipping the script completely, where the real victory is no longer about them coming back, but about the person you've become in the process, the version of you that they may finally see too late. Number 8. The real victory, their return and your rebirth. They might come back for the version of you they remember, but the real victory is becoming the version of you they no longer deserve. My friends, this is where the story flips. For so long, the win in your mind was simple. They realize your worth. They come back. They apologize. They finally choose you. That's the fantasy we're fed in movies, in songs, in late-night daydreams. But real life, especially when you walk it with a stoic heart, shows you a different kind of victory, not the one where they return, but the one where you no longer need them to. Think about it like this, folks. Imagine you were once standing outside a locked door, knocking, begging to be let in. You were saying, I can love you better. I can be patient. I can understand. Just let me stay. And inside that room, they took their time. They opened the door halfway, then closed it again. They gave you just enough attention to keep you hoping, but not enough effort to keep you safe. That was your old life. You thought the win was getting inside that room. But what you didn't know is that while you were begging at that door, there was an entire house, an entire world waiting for you somewhere else, with your name on it. Your rebirth began the moment you stepped away from that door. At first, it hurt. Your knuckles were bruised from knocking. Your pride was cracked. You felt like you'd lost everything. But little by little, step by step, you started walking in a new direction. You started reconnecting with yourself. The you that existed before all the begging, before all the over-explaining, before all the self-blame. You started discovering things you enjoy that have nothing to do with them. Your laughter began to sound different, less strained, more real. Your mornings didn't start with checking their status. They started with checking your own. This is the part they never see. They see your posts. They see your glow. They see the surface. But they don't see the nights you cried, the journal pages, the prayers, the quiet decisions to respect yourself more today than you did yesterday. They don't see the discipline it took to not answer every message, to not reopen every wound, to not let loneliness trick you into going back to someone who never knew what to do with your heart. That's the sacred part of your rebirth. It happens in silence, in private, away from the eyes that misjudged you. And then, one day, something small but powerful happens. You realize you've gone a whole morning without thinking about them, then a whole day. Then you hear their name, and your chest doesn't clench the way it used to. You might even see their message pop up, and instead of panic or excitement, you feel neutral, calm. That's not indifference, my friends. That's growth. That's what it feels like when your nervous system finally understands. We're safe now. We don't live in that emotional roller coaster anymore. This is where the real victory starts to show. Because yes, they might come back. They might finally feel the full weight of your absence. They might realize you were the one person who brought peace into their chaos. They might even say the words you waited so long to hear. But here's the twist. By the time they truly see who you are, you've already stepped into a life that no longer revolves around whether they see it or not. It's like someone finally recognizing a masterpiece after it's been moved to a museum. They show up at the old gallery, ready to buy it, and the walls are empty. The painting didn't vanish. It just found a place worthy of its value. That painting is you, your standards, your boundaries, your healed heart. The old gallery is the version of their life that never knew how to hold you properly. The real victory is not their regret. Their regret is their teacher, not your trophy. The real victory is you waking up in a life where your peace isn't constantly under threat, where your worth isn't up for debate, where your happiness doesn't hinge on whether one specific person texts you back. The real victory is that you've become someone you respect, someone you can trust, not to abandon yourself, just to keep someone else comfortable. Stoicism doesn't promise that people won't come and go. It doesn't promise that you'll never feel pain or miss someone. What it does promise is that you can build a strength inside you that doesn't crumble every time someone else makes a choice. You've built that, slowly, quietly, painfully. But you did it. And now, whether they stay gone, whether they come back, whether they apologize or stay silent, one thing remains true. You've learned how to stand. So ask yourself now, my friends, if they walked in today, right now, would the highest version of you really want what the old version of you was begging for? Or have you grown into a person with a bigger vision, a deeper peace, a wiser heart? Maybe the reason life allowed them to misjudge you is so that you would finally be pushed into discovering parts of yourself you never would have met otherwise. In a twisted way, their underestimating you forced you to stop underestimating yourself. That's your rebirth. That's your quiet victory. Not loud, not flashy, just solid, just real, just you, finally choosing you. So as we close this journey, I want you to mark this moment, not for them, for you. Go to the comments and type this affirmation. My rebirth is my revenge. Not revenge in a bitter way, but in the most powerful way possible. Living well, living peacefully, living wisely. If this message spoke to you, if you felt your own story woven between these words, do me one last favor. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to remember who they are. And if you feel moved to support this work, you can tap the Super Thanks button and contribute in whatever way feels right to you. Because in the end, my friends, they may or may not come back. But you are already on your way to becoming someone stronger, calmer, and more untouchable than you've ever been. And that will always be the real victory.